Okay, so we come to the last speaker of the session, Dr. Sirko Straube. He is a research and administration manager at DFKI and working at the intersection of AI and robotics. He comes from biology, neurobiology, and computer science. He did his master's in Freiburg, followed by a dissertation in 2009 on object recognition in the human brain in Bremen. Also did a senior research stay at the University of Oldenburg, and finally joined the DFKI Robotics Innovation Center in Bremen in 2010. And I very much look forward to your talk.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just realized that it was 16 years ago that I joined there. So, okay, long time. Thank you very much for the introduction and the invitation. And I think I will just continue with what we do the whole day. So I think the whole day we are constantly looking at AI from not completely different perspectives, but from completely different levels, I think. What I would like to talk about today is a bit more about the challenges of physical AI. We are also hearing a lot these days about humanoid robotics. What is the next big thing after we have now the LLMs, generative AI, and I would really kind of motivate you or motivate us all to think about what we can do, but I would also like to say a bit more on what is, in my opinion, or in the opinion of many researchers, I think, the current status on this topic. So, therefore, I put the subtitle on the complexity of intelligence in uncertain physical environments. So, first of all, a very short glimpse of where I come from. So the Robotics Innovation Center of DFKI is situated in Bremen. So DFKI is situated across Germany. And we are, I would say, the robotics group with having 1 to 120 scientists working on robotics. I think what makes the work there a bit special is that we really build robots ourselves, and so we have small teams working on hardware, electronics, on software. So we kind of work on the whole chain that has to do with robotics, and the idea was from the very beginning to develop systems that are really autonomous. And I will talk a lot about autonomy today in the talk. And you see here that this is for various application fields. Underwater robotics is one big field that we have, and space robotics as well. So, okay, I think if you, very often or for a very long time, we are looking at or we are witnessing how AI speeded up with its capabilities. So what we can do with AI, and but what we at the same time also see in the media is somehow that I think we've heard this from different perspectives today as well, is that we continuously somehow experience errors that these algorithms make, and somehow it is always in the news, and so people, so big companies, they are advertising AI as the big solution. Then there comes these errors, and then people kind of, for example, in this Google ticker AI that somehow responded with very weird comments. Google said, okay, no, that's a translation issue. It may sound somehow unfamiliar to Germans, but the thing is working as such. So we are constantly pending between, okay, AI is working and doing what we want to do, and it is not working. And what I would like to point out here is that these errors not only are good for the media or to talk about it, but they also tell us a lot about what is in the algorithms. And especially if we think about robotics, so we're talking here about systems that use artificial intelligence to act in the world and to act in our everyday environment. So that means we have to look at this kind of behavior. So what is really happening there? And I would say in the machine learning field or in the field of artificial intelligence, this is not a new phenomenon. We very often, also in science, people kind of battle themselves with, okay, now we've invented this algorithm and it really performs 5% better than the other algorithms. So this is here from time before LLMs and generative AI, where the authors from Stanford already pointed at the same issue, saying, okay, here we are talking about object recognition in videos, and they also said, we are all in the machine learning community looking at the elephant in the room, so everyone is seeing it, but no one is talking about it. And the elephant is that these algorithms, we are only looking at them, how good they are working, but we are not looking very well on how can we manipulate them, and then they are not working anymore. So you see here an example of a object recognition algorithm. So people very much concentrated on the recognition rate of these objects, but these authors then made some modifications of the video. For a human, it's easy to see. So the woman was kind of copy and pasted in the screen, but the whole algorithms collapsed at that time. And remember, this is the same year where we saw this also. So how does this fit together? So we see robots really doing very, very complex tasks. I think you all know this video. And at the same time, we have vision algorithms that we can manipulate so easily. And I think, especially for robotics, this is really something that has to be considered. We cannot only look at the functionality below, but we also have to look at this. We have to understand, why is AI behaving the way it is behaving? So why is that so, and what does it imply for robotics? So I think what we see for many years now is that we see demonstration of function, but in the physical world, and this is not equivalent with understanding physical dependencies and actions. And I think that is the major thing here, because the current approach, and I think we've heard this today a number of times, is that we have at the moment the approach that we use lots of training data to design the systems for a task, or also with pure LLMs. So these are data-driven methods. We give them data, and then we have, let's say, some news article where people try to fool an LLM, for example. So the companies or the distributor of the LLM, they start to do some engineering of this unwanted behavior, and we are doing this kind of iteratively, and this causes enormous amounts of data, enormous efforts, and also it causes a lot of limitations. So it limits so only the one that has the most resources can do this kind of stuff. And also, if you think of a robot that has to act in the outside world, we also reduce the behavior flexibility, because for each new task, we have to retrain the robot. The idea, and I would say that this is more of a bet that the large companies are currently making, is that if you now have these LLMs and LBMs, I think it was already said, that the understanding and competence to do a task is somehow emerging out of these learning frameworks. And I think that is really the question, and I would really doubt that this is the case. Currently, there's not much speaking for it. So the open question, I think, that the future will answer is, how can the robots use this kind of knowledge to, as a basis to become really what we want from them. We want them to be robust against disturbances. We want to have them to be reliable. They should be trustworthy, and they should also be safe, of course. So I don't want to only show you bad examples, but also maybe some milestone that we achieved, and maybe if you have in mind what I just spoke about, being that the algorithms that we see do not really understand what they are doing, then maybe you look at this video, can look at this with two perspectives. I think last year, 2024, there was a real milestone shown by the Figure company. That is a company from OpenAI. They've now published more videos, but I think this one was the real milestone, because it shows somehow how interaction with a robot could, in principle, work in the future. And it shows what happened and what can happen when the current technology with LLMs comes together with robotic technology. I will not show you the whole video. I hope this works with the tone.
It is figure one. What do you see right now?
I see a red apple on a plate in the center of the table, a drying rack with cups and a plate, and you standing nearby with your hand on the table.
Great. Can I have something to eat?
Sure thing.
Great. Can you explain why you did what you just did while you pick up this trash?
On it. So I gave you the apple because it's the only edible item I could provide you with from the table.
Great. So, based on the scene right now, where do you think the dishes in front of you go next?
The dishes on the table, like that plate and cup, are likely to go into the drying rack next.
Great. Can you put them there?
Okay. Of course, it will perform this very good. So this was a really kind of it's, I think, surprising that one could show that you can use the interaction, the speech interaction with the robot in this way, and that you can really bind this together with not only speech, so communication, but also with the actions of the robot. So the robot could grab the apple, it could grab the cup, and so on. But what I think is even, so the question is, okay, are we there? Could we close the institute and other institutions, and we have this already? So when Figure put this out in last year, I was really, and others, we were really curious, okay, what will happen then afterwards? And the thing is that even the CEO of Figure, they are also in interviews saying, okay, this is not the end, we are still not there. So they have now Figure 2, Figure 3 robot. You can see how they work in production settings or even at home. But still, if you look at the videos, you see only what works. And you have to dig deeper to see what doesn't work. And everything that doesn't work has to do with the fact that these robots don't know what they're doing. They are just like ChatGPT, just like LLMs, kind of simulating this knowledge, because they have certain heuristics inside. They are statistical. Their basis is statistics, and so we don't have. And I think this is very important. We don't have the connection right now in robotics between the physical world and this kind of speech level knowledge that we have. And to show you a bit that this is really important, I would also like to think about how do we humans learn language. So when we start as a human, we kind of have first movements. So movements are very important. Interaction with the world is important. We try to bubble, or at the beginning we bubble, then we create words, then we create concepts, categories, and then, you know, language emerges from the interaction with the world. And this somehow is then, so the language is our connection to, let's say, our world model, so I can talk to you and tell you what I think, you can tell me what you think, and we can speak about it. If you now think of the robot, it is a completely different story. The robot has never interacted with the world. It has only got the data, and the robot can talk about the apple, it can talk about hot water, but it doesn't have a grounded concept of what is really water or an apple. And I think this is not trivial, and it is very important if we really want to talk about autonomous robots and even humanoids. So for humanoid robots, it's even, I mean, these are highly mobile, highly general purpose robots. And this is really a connection and a bridge that has to be made in the future, I think. So I put this together, what I would call in the autonomy puzzle. We can argue if this is intelligence or not, but I would say we have robots that function, that have very high level of function, that can show tasks very well, and we see more and more flexibility to that is also added. So we have this kind of level of intelligence already achieved. Intelligence is maybe not, and there's not a single stage intelligence here, but there are multiple stages. But I would also already say, okay, we have the intelligent robot, yes. But what we don't have is that these robots have really everything they need to be really autonomous robots. So, for example, we have only weak connections and only there are some, let's say, systems that bind perception to action, but we don't have a general concept about how can the robot map a perception to an action and then create something like experience. We don't have the solution that robots can really solve new problems or new tasks. And we don't have kind of own world models from the robots, so the robot cannot really map its own experience to the data it has. And I think this is really what has to be done in the future. And what is important here is that if you want to infer if the robot can understand its actions, you cannot answer this question by just looking at videos or looking at behavior. You have to do studies, you have to go inside these algorithms, and you have to really see what happens inside the robot. And I think this is something that we all maybe confuse, or many people at least think if they can demonstrate a certain function, then they can somehow argue that that we are already there and that we already have achieved autonomous robots. Okay, I was told that this video is not working, but that's no problem. So what we see nowadays, above what I've shown you from the figure robot, is that we see more and more flexibility of the systems. We see this kind of really, as I said, intelligence. So not only the robot can here pack some boxes, but also can react to disturbances in the scene. And I think it is important to note here that autonomy really requires the appropriate level of competence to ensure this robustness in task execution and to have safe and secure. So we heard this morning we have to consider safety and security behavior. So safety for the environment and also secure behavior so that the robot as such cannot be is a secure system. So therefore the take-home message here is that robots have to generalize and must be grounded in the physical world to become really autonomous. So I want to close with two conclusions. I make it very quick. I think they're very general. So at first thing I would say, still we have to remind ourselves we have this technology, we have these rapid developments in AI, but this is not going on for decades now, but it's only 2 or 3 years. And if you look at what is already present at companies, I think we really have to work on what are the possibilities that we can now use with the technology that is now existing. And I think still with AI, the most important question is, what do I, and this I here is for a person or a company, so what do we want from this technology? Just as Virginia Dignam said this morning, we are shaping the technology right now, and we are really deciding what do we want to do with this. So I think that's important, and I think, so for me at least, it seems that we are still somehow in the mood at looking at this technology, somehow being astonished about its capabilities. But I think it's really important now to become an active designer, to use this technology and really incorporate it into our processes. I think we are talking the whole day about this. So the second conclusion I want to make is that is more going in the direction of certification and qualification of AI systems. Here I think I also asked this morning the question, as we heard, about the standardization. So we are very much used to think of machines as kind of input-output. So we have this input-output relationship, and we think, or our regulations classically come from systems that are deterministic and not based on these stochastic algorithms. And I think that we have to think as of robots, the more they become, let's say, humanoid in general, we have to think about them as having properties from machines, let's say, and humans. So they have to have this clear, so that I put it here with clear input-output present uncertainties. So what we want from humanoid robots is that they really can deal with uncertainties. And therefore, I think that the current standardization and qualification measures somehow also have to reflect these uncertainty measures and test for task competence, so under various conditions. So I think that's something that is important, and I think it's more so, I was also very happy that I think, I don't know, I think it was also Virginia Dignam who put it with the driver's license for AI. I put it on my slide as well because I also think that we should think of our own qualification criteria that we established, and like in education, like in driver's license, wow, that's not part of my presentation. Okay, so now the AI switched off the screen. But I was also at the end of my talk. Okay, so yeah, basically that's what I wanted to say. I think in the future, I mean, we have to talk about if something, for example, so we need to have these qualification measures and methods, and if something goes wrong, we need to integrate the function and also kind of the competence of these systems. So I think that's basically what I wanted to say. And I'm happy for, okay, then I can, so that's what I just said, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Very much like this visualizations. So do we have any questions?
Yeah, thank you very much for your talk. Without going too much into a discussion about how autonomously agents are working, if we're thinking about the robotics part and AI agents in general, could you maybe elaborate a bit more about the difference in competence when we are talking about the robotics, AI, robotic implementations, and just about agentic AI when we are saying they are working autonomously?
Yeah, I think, I mean, if you think of an AI agent, then we still have the possibility that humans, so they work alongside humans. So if we are not sure if the AI agent maybe is not certified or not if we don't have a clue how to certify or regulate certain algorithms, that at the end we always have the human, and the human has the qualification, so the human kind of is embedded in our regulation system, so we can use this. With the robot, we cannot use this anymore. I mean, or only under very, very specific circumstances. So I think this really puts higher demands on the robot. I think we've seen the presentation about the Amazon warehouses, so about the Kion systems. I think what people did in the past is they kind of tried to create purely automated regions where you don't have any human, and you can just, you kind of reduce the complexity of the environment. But if we really want to have robots intersecting with humans, then this is a different story, I think.
Thanks, you.
Other questions? Okay, then thanks the speaker again, and you will have now the coffee break until 3:10, so you can have some discussions. Thank you very much.